Well, hello people, and welcome back to another installment of Cities Skylines Modular Builds. Hope you're having a wonderful day. Today we're going to have a look at 3 simple and easy vanilla city starts. Now these can be used to go ahead and start your new city if you're looking for that initial road network frame, or in your existing city if you're looking to leave a highway network and begin new suburbia. Then these designs are all perfect for those purposes. So let's get stuck into them, shall we? So for our first design today, we're going to find our highway exit. Now in vanilla city skylines, it's usually 2 highway roads like this. So this is how we'll start most of them today. We're going to draw up our first road by a distance of 20 units. And also mimic that back down the other side as well. You then want to upgrade these roads into your directional flow, depending if you are left or right hand traffic. We're then going to join the roads together at the top with a dirt road frame, which is going to create this grid snap for us, where we're going to drag in a dirt road just at the node above, and then draw this up by a distance of 5 units. Go ahead and grab yourself the small roundabout, and then just tether that onto the end of the dirt road that you just placed. And from this point you can now delete the dirt road frames that you've drawn in to hold the build. At this point you want to brace the roundabout by drawing a cross through the middle of it with your dirt roads, and then you can then delete the bottom and the top slip roads off of the roundabout. Coming back to your one-way roads, now going to draw up by a distance of 5, and then change into our freeform tool, and then you're going to try and curve this into the roundabout at a nice sensible angle at a cost of 400, and you should get something that looks a little bit like that. Repeat the same process for the other side as well. And then of course don't forget to change your directions of flow if you need to. On the roads off the side of the roundabout, these are going to become your first 2 arterial systems. You can bring these out in whichever configuration and design your map lets you. Some might have a tile boundary here, but I would definitely suggest having residential and commercial on the left, and putting industry over toward the right. Now from the top of our braced roundabout, we're going to draw out another dirt road by a distance of 10, before drawing out a T at the top of this dirt road. Once you have the T drawn in, delete the stick of the T, and then from these straight roads that we drawn in earlier, you can simply just draw straight up from them to find out which node you want to snap on, because that's where we want to keep it going from. And we're going to extend a coupler system down off of this network here. And you can also repeat that same process up this way, just so you know now that these nodes here are all in a perfect straight line with each other, which will look better in the long run. And from this point you then want to repeat that curved system with the freeform tool to mimic the couplet system on the opposite side of the roundabout. Once those are installed and you've arranged your direction to flow, you can then delete those holding dirt road frames, as they're no longer needed in the build. Once you have reached a population of 1600, I definitely recommend upgrading this roundabout into the 3-lane one-way road, but at the start of the game, playing with the vanilla milestones, you will not have access to that. So from this point here, I'd recommend setting up some very basic road network frames. Between the entrances of your arterial roads and the roundabout, I'd recommend leaving at least a distance of 10-15 units if you can, just because you don't want junctions too close to the roundabout. You want to let this thing breathe a little bit. So I'm going to come out from about here for my first residential frames, and now I can start building my city in whatever configuration and design that you want to. It's entirely up to you. If you are looking for a build series, please do come and check out the playlists, all linked down below. You can see how I choose to build this start out. But I'd certainly suggest residential and commercial over here on the left, with industrial on the right, and the same process over here again as well. We want to make sure that we're saving plenty of room between the first junction and the roundabout, so they have room to breathe. Once you have your road network frame placed, I would definitely suggest placing in a water tower within your main roundabout, as it looks pretty cool and serves as a nice point of decoration to help you integrate some of your services into the city. And then also don't forget to place your water treatment within the industrial area, and also a power plant. For this one I tend to go with the vanilla coal power plant and the Sunset Harbour water treatment, but depending what DLCs you do and don't have will depend what and where you place here. And once you have placed everything down, you can watch it all grow up. The couplet system north of the roundabout can be extended in whichever direction you see fit. Of course everyone's map is going to be different. There could be a mountain in the way, so you might need to snake it off to the left or the right. Your residential here can continue to grow out alongside the commercial as you make your first town and suburb, and you can keep your dirty industry off to the right until you're ready to properly develop it. And then once it's all grown up and detailed, we should eventually have something that looks a little bit like this. So lots of fencing and tree lining in the entrance to your city will really just help it give it a bit more importance. Bushes, live oaks and pines in the roundabout with lots of pathways always go a long way, especially when partnered with that water tower, if you are going to include that as your starting water utility service. But lots of nice traffic flow here, really super expandable. The couplet system can carry on to keep directing traffic into higher density parts of the town, whereas your two arterial networks that come off the sides of the roundabout can really be expanded into whatever you want. Your initial starting industry, I definitely recommend rejigging into something a little nicer than just classic vanilla zoned. But this stat here is enough to get you over to your first milestone, get that first cash injection, and of course don't forget to balance your economy, as with every city start you want to make sure you reduce your road and power services because you're paying too much for them at the start. But a really nice, simple and easy start, works a treat. This is the start that we've used in the build guide before, so super successful, nice and easy, looks great and super useful. Let's have a look at the next one, shall we? So for our second city start, we are going to start by extending the highway up through the middle of the city by a distance of 50 tiles both sides of the highway. And don't forget, of course, to arrange your directions of flow if you need to. This will allow you to keep the highway flowing through your city if you want to, or indeed just leave it flowing as a suburban couplet system. Or you can bottleneck this into a 4 or 6 lane road as well if you want to. Once you have these two roads extended, we're going to come up to this second blue marker here, which is a distance unit of 20 from your starting highway. And we're just going to draw up, with a 1 tower gap between the road, a distance of 10 units on either side. So we have a mirrored slip road system that looks something like that. Once this is in, we want to come down to ground level, and then we want to line up within the middle of these roads and elevate up by 3 steps with our arterial road. And we're going to draw this across into the middle of the couplet system at a distance of 1240, and you want to repeat that exactly the same on the other side as well, giving us a bridge that spans these areas here. Once you have the bridge in, you want to come out by a distance of 12 units and then bring this bridge back down to earth at a distance of 1820. You'll then have something that looks a little bit like this. At each end of this new bridge, we want to come onto our snapping with no road guidelines, and then bring this up by units of 5, represented by that smaller second blue marker, of course, if you're not aware. And this is going to give us a couple of roundabouts on the edge of this arterial bridge that flows over our new couplet system. So you'd eventually have something that looks a little bit like that. So now at the side of our roundabout, we're going to come ahead and grab our 2-lane one-way road, and we're going to do a little 5 curve to come down like this. And this is going to come down toward the couplet system at a distance of 11. You want to repeat the same thing on the other side as well. From your bird's eye perspective, you should now have something that looks a little bit like this. To now hook in your slip roads, you want to essentially repeat the same distance that we have here. So a good way to check your distance here is you hook in your slip roads. If you draw in from your one-way network to level with your slip road here, it's a distance of 200. Because you have grid snapping on, we can equally just draw that up to the next point. Right, now that's 200 there, and then use that as a point to add that slip road in. Then we want to grab some freeform roads here, and we want to hook in to this central point here at a distance of 280. And of course, don't forget to arrange your directions of flow if you need to. And this can then hook back into your couplet system, which can extend on further throughout the city. You want to repeat this on both sides. From your top perspective, you should now have something that looks like that, and to finish off this city start, it's a simple case of just bringing in your slip roads at a distance of 320 on either side. For this one, you want to keep everything pretty mirrored. It's a nice one to kind of have symmetric, this one. And then of course arrange any directions of flow. Then with the rest of your money, you can now extend arterial systems out of the roundabout and your city can start, indeed, however you deem fit. Again, I would always suggest having industry on the right side here, and keeping your commercial and residential areas separate. You can also hook roads into the ends of the roundabout that aren't currently hooked in as well. As always, for decoration purposes, I recommend a water tower within the middle of the couplet system, or either side of the slip roads. Always serves as nice industrial decoration. And as always, don't forget to adjust your power, water and road sliders at the start of the game as to not totally destroy your economy. This is how I'd configure my commercial and residential designs, with of course lots of industry over on the right, keeping everything that is pollutive separate from your nice stuff. This is a great solution to keep your highway flowing through the city Probably more of a high density solution, this one, but really nicely designed slip road system. Great little service interchange, this Dumbbell. That will keep traffic flowing for a good long while and will also be relatively future proof here too. But once you have all your zoning set up and your road network frames, lots of detail in here will certainly help it set in. And once you have detailed it up, things should look a little like this. So again, lots of repeated fence and tree designs around your major exits really add a lot to the city in my opinion. So don't forget to detail up these major entrances / exits into the city. And also don't forget to configure your roundabouts in the same, or the correct direction anyway, because I actually had one of mine backwards in the cinematic. But this one is really tasteful. You probably recognise this as the start of Noob Yoke. If you haven't seen that series, again, it's linked down below. If you want to see a full city build after this interchange, then of course you can in that particular series. But this one definitely has a lot higher capacity than the couplet system we looked at in the first variation of the city starts. And again, an elevated pathway is always welcome to take a little bit of pressure off of those pedestrian crossings on the road, especially near a major city entrance like this. But this one looks really nice. I love the mirrored image of these slip roads. It looks really cool once it's all in. But great city start, this one. You can't go wrong. Will support traffic for a long time and well into your high density areas. Looks great as well. Big fan of this start to the city. So for our third and final city start, we're going to come back to our 2-lane highway roads and draw up our one-way directional roads by a distance of 30 units. Repeated on the other side as well. Similar to what we did with the other version, we're going to draw a little junction across with a dirt road to help create some grid snappings here. We're going to draw up a little dirt frame by a distance of 5, and then again we're going to attach another small roundabout onto the end of this, and then you can delete your dirt road frames after this one. Lock your roundabout in place again with the cross so it braces and doesn't warp, and then you can delete the bottom and the top ones off of this too. At this time, what we're going to do, rather than hooking this one into the roundabout, we're actually going to draw up a couple of tiles next to this, so we have a 1 tile gap between this road and the new road. And I'm going to draw this up by a distance of 10 on either side, repeated on the opposite side as well. You now have something that looks a little bit like this. You now want to draw these roads into your roundabout. It should be a distance of 360. And then come back in with the freeform tool and hook in to the slip roads again at a distance of 360. So after that work, you should have something that looks a little bit like this. What's going to happen with the 2 roads here in the middle, now I wouldn't recommend doing this at the start of the city, because one, you don't need them and they're not going to go anywhere, but eventually what you are going to do is draw out these roads at a distance of 2,280 as tunnel roads, and they will come under your roundabout. But don't do that yet. Wait until the city is in its 2nd or 3rd milestone before you do that, because you're just paying for those roads that aren't getting used at the minute. Similar to the other one, we're now going to upgrade these 2 entrances here into arterial roads, and we're going to feed these into your city. Again, what shape and form these take will differ for everyone, since everyone's map is going to be different. And as always, don't forget to adjust your road, power, and water sliders at the start of the game, because you won't need this much capacity. We can now unbrace the roundabout and delete any trees within the middle. And as always, I would suggest a water tower within the middle of the roundabout for decoration purposes. And then from this point you can map out your suburban frames in whatever shape you prefer they take. And don't forget to include some space for your industrial zoning as well. Once I've established my frames, I'm likely to keep commercial centered around my arterial roads, with lots of residential up and around my suburban residential frames, and again industry over and separate away from everything else. You can also develop some forestry around here as well if you're playing with the Industries DLC, just so you have some industry that isn't pollutive. So this is it for right now. Let's go ahead and let the game play, and then we can talk about how this system is going to develop in the future, and we'll get it detailed as well. So you want to let this grow up again until you get to your 2nd or 3rd milestone. You just want to have enough money in the bank, especially when you get that little cash injection from hitting the milestones, to properly develop the interchange, because starting out right at the start of the game, it is an expensive start to the game, probably the most expensive start. Again, for long-time viewers of the channel, you will probably recognise this as the start to Palaven, which again could handle lots of high density traffic coming directly off of the highway. And it's up to you whether or not you want to treat it as a highway extension or you want to run it as a suburban couplet. It's super flexible. Really depends what you want to run it as. But you want to let your city grow up here, let these first zonings come in, get to your first milestone, and then we'll have a look at the rest of the interchange design together. So at this point, this town has now reached a little hamlet and had a little cash injection, so we can carry on developing the rest of the interchange. I'm going to come back in and grab your one-way roads again. Now we're going to extend this coupler system down. We're going to come underground to create a tunnel that has a distance of 2,880, which is the maximum length for the tunnel. Should be noted as well at this point in the build that you can also do this as a bridge if you would like. It would work exactly the same way, apart from you would see the obviously engineered roads that you're looking at here. Then we'll extend them out by a distance of 3,600 on either side, and then you're going to repeat that measurement back up to the top, which was 2,880, which will complete your coupler system on the opposite side. You have something that looks like that. You then want to extend this system out into whatever you want it to flow into. Again, I usually like to treat this as an extension of the highway, but this time the slip lanes are going to be off of our arterial systems, not the roundabout. So we're moving the exit off the roundabout just onto the arterial road. And I'm going to do this about 10 units away from my roundabout, so I know that's 10 units right there. Let's bring that down into the road, and then you just want to meander some curves in whatever configuration you like, really, back up onto that couplet network, and of course don't forget to arrange your directions of flow. Also want to do the same thing here again too, making sure, well, we can actually check the distance here now, so that was 400 back to the roundabout, so we can simply remeasure that with our road tools. There's 400. Let's bring that out. Don't worry about destroying the power line, just reinstate it afterwards. If you want symmetry, don't forget to check your measurements again. From your bird's eye perspective, you'll now have something that looks a little bit like this. Now, what I would also suggest doing here with this city start, and something I had a really great success with in Palaven, was actually adding a couple of mini roundabouts either side of these main slip roads here. Because what it's going to do is take a lot of pressure off of this main central roundabout, especially if you plan on building industry up around this entrance, which is how I did it. So let's walk through this design here together. I'm going to bring a two-way road down by a distance of 12 units from this point here by a distance of 480. Then going to grab the one-way road. We're going to make a very small roundabout here. Just a 3 deep one, so really small. Measurements of 160 every time. So now you have your slip lane and roundabout aligned on the side. You want to grab a freeform tool, and you just want to create a nice sensible curve at a distance of 400 back into that slip lane, and then you can expand different industrial designs off of this roundabout here now by having it span out in various different directions. You want to repeat that exact same process for the other side. With the final undetailed configuration looking a little bit something like this, you will be, I think, tremendously surprised with how efficient these mini roundabouts are next to the slip roads for helping support the major central roundabout in the middle. It takes a lot of pressure off of it because people can just slip directly back onto the highway here, but also slip directly back off as well if they need to. So let's get this thing detailed and we'll have a look at the final product. So once you do have this one detailed, it looks absolutely amazing, super efficient as well. These little mini roundabouts take so much pressure off of the main roundabout and it's kind of hooked in arterial system. And also separating those exit and re-entry roads away from the roundabout make an enormous difference for traffic flow. It's all about alleviating pressure for me, traffic management in Cities Skylines. And also bushes, trees, fence-lined pathways really bring this entrance to life as well. Feel free to get an elevated pedestrian crossing in here as well if you like. Always nice to have those pathways again, just to take more pressure off of the roads. But this is my favourite one. Again, you'll recognise this as the start of Palaven. Super successful, will handle a ton of traffic for a long time. And I think what we'll do is we'll end today's video with cinematics of these 3 simple and easy city starts alongside their starts in the series. So I hope you've enjoyed it anyway. Some nice ideas here for starting and exiting a city. I hope you've managed to find it useful. Please do enjoy the cinematics, but I'll shut up and leave it there. I'd like to thank you all so much for watching, and as always, enjoy the rest of your day.